Right or wrong, I've always considered myself to be a bit of an intellectual. And because of that, I've been really fascinated by psychology lately and why people do the things that they do, like leftovers from evolution and whatnot. So, because of that, what I've come up with, I bought this new camera. And I think it's apparently because I want to show everybody that I'm I look every day as old of the 39 and a bit years old that I am, and apparently still have blackheads. So, that being said, welcome to this episode 2 of the Automotive Misconduct podcast. I am one of your hosts, Dustin.
I'm the other host, Adam. Glad to have you here.
Yeah. On today's episode, we'll be talking about the rise, fall, and rise again of Adam's Mustang.
Yeah, it's got quite a story, lengthy story. So no time like the present to get after it.
Yeah.
In my eyes, this is kind of like the resurrection of the gray car.
Yeah.
The Tony Campbell. This was obviously his vehicle before. It was mine. It got him through high school, and it was just a V6 5-speed car, basic, and kind of got sick of how slow it actually was, and once he started to realize that horsepower was actually king, and decided to do a V8 swap on it, and that's kind of when my first time came working on this car. And I mean, heck, it was probably 12, 15 years ago area, I would say. Not exactly sure on the date, but it was quite some time ago. It was my actual first interaction with this vehicle. And he decided to put a single overhead cam 4.6 back into it in place of the V6. And he had that for a while and then went.
I always wanted to ask, do you know what kind of vehicle that came out of? The 4.6, the original one?
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. Nope, it was I'm sure back then it was a Craigslist find, back when Craigslist was the cool thing to do before Marketplace was a disaster and even available.
Right.
But it was still a 5-speed car, and they kind of had a 3650 trans in it. They that wasn't, of course, short-lived, as most of you who do know Tony. Doesn't keep setups or a hood. Like this car went through multiple changes, but it ended up, he bolted a V2 Vortec on it for a while, and car performed good. Ended up getting tired of that, went to a V7 YSI Vortec on it, and lived that life for quite some time. Car was super fast. Like, that was when first time I ever drove it, and man, like, that thing, tell you what, it was impressive for what it was. And he, like I said, he changed it up again, went to a turbo setup on it, and it's kind of like pioneered the way with this car for like our friends group. It was always just ahead of its time, like in our eyes anyway. He kind of led the way with it, and it was just an iconic car. Like, seeing it around, I mean, cruising the lots, cruising out in Bay Road or going to the track, whatever the case may be. He just I don't know, decided one day that he wanted to he came across the Cobra from another friend of ours and wanted to go about building that. So stripped all the parts off of the gray car. They called it the gray car because it's mineral gray. It's just been the gray car ever since I've known Tony. But they stripped all the stuff off it that was useful and put it into his Cobra. And then this car kind of went into his grandpa's barn to pass away, like, so to say. This thing was,
yeah.
like, I mean, he had intentions of building it at some point, but it wasn't like it was a big rush. I mean, it's hard enough building one car, let alone two, which you are
Yeah.
well aware of.
Mm-hmm.
That's another episode.
Yeah, it's episode 4 or 5.
But I don't know. It came down to where, I'd always at this point just go into the track with you guys and help working on your stuff, which I absolutely love to do.
Yeah.
And just the wife looked at me one day and was like, "Why don't you have a car?" And I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's an expensive hobby. Like, as we all know, it's expensive and it's time consuming.
Yeah.
And I really just enjoyed going to the track with you guys and everybody else and like putting forth my knowledge to help you guys do better. Like, I mean, there's nothing better than seeing your friends succeed at things. I mean, especially in something you've had a hand in. So it was kind of like the way it was. I just, sat back and enjoyed the ride. But when she asked me that, it kind of, it did pique my interest. Like, why don't I build a car? And I've got the knowledge, I've got the friends base to, help me along, and it just, came to fruition that I was going to build a car. Me and her set some ground rules. The car build could not put me into debt like it does some, which is unfortunate, but it's the way it goes. The car had to be safe, obviously, and it had to have an interior. That was Haley's rule, my daughter, who is now almost 14. She said it had to have a back seat that she could ride it. So that was the only rules I had. Other than that, it was kind of, let's just get after it. Like I said, it just dug right in and started kind of planning this thing out. And at first, I was going to do a nitro setup. Simple, just throw it together and drive it. But, I mean, you and everybody else included kind of was like, why don't you just build it once? And we all know you kind of want to do a turbo LS deal, so why would you go any other way than that, even if it takes a while? So, kind of just came to realization that this was going to take a while, and I was just going to do it once. I went to pick up the car, and like Tony's grandpa was one of the funniest people I've ever had the pleasure of meeting, and like he always gave Tony crap about that car sitting in his barn. And I remember we were over there, he's like, looked at me and he's like, "So you're finally taking this thing out of my..." He's an older Mexican gentleman. I mean, the guy was just hilarious, but he was just super thankful that I was finally getting this piece of steel out of his barn.
Go away.
Yes.
Thank you.
He's like, "So you're finally getting this thing out of my barn. I thank you." But there's after that day, just like I said, it kind of became the resurrection of the gray car. And it's been, all hands on deck. Like when I got the car from Tony, it was a shell. There was no wiring, no engine, transmission, suspension. It was a body. And so I knew I had a lot of work ahead of me, but I mean, as you remember, I bought that black car as my first choice, and that kind of went south quickly, but it did have some good usable parts out of it, so we were able to use a lot of the stuff out of that, so it wasn't a complete waste. But
no, you actually like ended up profiting from it, right? Parting it out.
Yeah, I definitely made out with what I was, able to use versus what I lost.
I mean, you had all your labor and everything into it, so I mean, I think she had to go through it, but at least she didn't lose it.
Right. But I mean, yeah, it was kind of where we went with that. Just everybody just dove in, and we ended up finding a 5.3 down in Waterford. Went and picked that up, and Colin Welsh helped me kind of get that thing built, or lack thereof. Very, very minimal stuff went into that car, especially the engine. It had Andrade Performance custom cam from Texas Speed. A lot of just off the shelf stuff that people had extra laying around.
Yeah.
Trunnion upgraded rockers, head studs, rod bolts, but majority of it is just all stuff. Everything that came in that engine in 2008 is still that engine today. Regapped the rings, cleaned it up, and away we went. So, after we got all that stuff done, just kind of came to the safety side of things, and we realized that it definitely had to be caged. So we went to Team Z, and they helped me out with their 850 cert cage and a tubular front end. So we, Jeff Chandler at Pure Performance, and myself and Colin and Brian Crane and Tony, we all, and everybody kind of just dove in on that project because we had no idea how to do a cage, and it was an undertaking in itself.
Yeah, I remember I actually showed up to Colin's house one weekend when you were doing that and hung out with you guys. It was say the first time I'd ever seen a cage going in as well. It was a pretty like, you don't know how labor intensive that deal is until you're knee deep into it doing it. It was unbelievable, like you guys trying to get all the sound deadening and everything out of the interior. Ton of work.
That is a job that I don't recommend for anybody.
No.
The sound deadening, just me and a torch and a scraper for the better part of hours scraping that sound. I don't know what NASA adhesive Ford decided to use for that, but holy crap.
Yeah. Oh, it was. I pulled in the driveway. You were straight, not having a good time.
Oh man, no, that was a learning experience with that. But no, I mean, like I said, there's not a nut, bolt, or wire that we didn't touch on that car. So I mean, that kind of adds to the, I don't know how you say, like just the cool factor for myself that you and everybody else had a part of this car. So it's
just a bunch of pomp and circumstance. I don't know how else to say it. That
exactly right.
Yeah, everybody had their hands in it at one point or another. With being, in your, people we know for all this time. And I remember being on the forums and that car being a V6 and Tony messing with it and everything. So it's been involved in everybody's life for, pushing a couple of decades now. So it's definitely a pretty special deal.
Yep. I mean, it's come a long way. Like I said, the car back then was, like I said, it's, kind of an iconic car. I mean, just was a part of everybody's life back then, and still continues to be a part of everybody's life today. Seeing it come back out, and like I said, I can't remember exactly what it went under him, but I think it was like 9.6s the car went out at Mid-Michigan, because he ended up putting an automatic in it when it went with turbo and stuff. And I mean, it was still, that's fast, very fast.
Oh yeah.
And like, for somebody that we had no idea what we were doing, it was still, stock ECU setup on that car, and he just did what he did with what he had, and it worked. So I knew that I had to do the same and kind of live up to the car's reputation and everybody's reputation of the car. And like I said, even back in the forum days, like I said, you were just saying, like, the car, like, everybody knew who the car was. It's just the way it was.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my pathway that I knew I had to take with the car. But
so now, everybody's still involved with it, and I guess the glory pass of your first day there, going the 900, sort of 152 or in that range. But I mean, it's just was like, everything combined into this big moment, right? Like we're all for your $8.99, and
Yeah.
something that we had talked about, days later. You're pulling into this, to stage the car and are playing uh, "Don't Stop Believing,"
Mm-hmm.
right? And for everybody out there that's not a Red Wings fan like we are, that's like the victory song at the end of the day. And like you said, you won. You just didn't know it yet. It was
Yeah.
just a real special moment to be a part of, and so it was say the culmination of a lot of things, and everybody was pulling in the
Mm-hmm.
same direction that day. I hadn't been around a deal like that in years. I'd never seen that much positivity around one thing. So it was crazy to be a part of.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm.
I mean, my best friends, family, my daughter and stuff being there, my wife, I couldn't have gone any better for myself. I went into it with zero expectations. So having, said I had never made a pass down the track previous to that, like even as much as I'd been to the strip, I had
Yeah.
never been down. And so my nerves are through the roof. Definitely a highly anxious moment. Like it's,
Hmm.
going into the water box your first time, and
Oh yeah.
man, it was everybody's watching you, so it's like, oh my god. Like I
Yeah.
mean, I'd been down the street here in Ithaca, America,
Yeah.
and just messing around out here. I'd gone quick, just street tuning and stuff, but
Yeah.
like just the process you go through, like even getting ready to make that pass.
Yeah.
It was it was like I said, definitely a highly anticipated moment. And then once I made the first pass, I mean it ended up spinning, which was a poor burnout on my part.
Well,
But
gotta do it, man. You gotta
first timer.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta go through that.
Yep.
Like, can't get experience without doing it
Yeah.
the first time. So
But
for
the
sure.
cool thing about it is every single pass we went faster and faster and faster. And I mean, you guys made my job like literally point and shoot.
Right.
Um, like having all you guys there was probably
Yeah.
that
I
was
mean,
better to me than having. I mean, I could have went 11s that day and I wouldn't have cared. Like just having you guys, like having like everybody there was just that was super special.
yeah, for sure. Well, and it's because of you putting in the wrench time in everybody else's car. It was like an obligation on our. I mean, we wanted to be there, but it was an
Mm-hmm.
obligation for us to, like, you couldn't miss it. And I
Right.
mean, it just was what it was, and couldn't have been happier for you. And I guess the one thing I did want to say was I remember that day you were worried about something going wrong with the car and kept telling, "Oh, I'm the one that did all the work on this car," and it's like, yeah, that's the reason why no one else is worried about that. Like if something happens, it's going to be a part failure. Like we've
Yeah.
seen the quality of work that you've put into my car and everybody else's car. Like I can't think of anything I'm less worried about, dude. I don't know what else to tell you. I mean,
and that was a and that was up here for me. Like man, like so much of the stuff that I've touched on this thing. What's going to go wrong, and ended up not even being my part that failed. It was a sensor that went bad that caused
right,
us or that I feel like caused us that 8-second pass that day. But
right. Well,
the way it
we're
goes.
right. We're gonna find the flaw somewhere, right? Like
Yep.
it's never right the first time. But
Hmm.
yeah, uh, say I couldn't have been more confident in the workmanship.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I don't know. It makes me, I appreciate that more than you know. Like I said, it's a lot of stuff went into that car. Way more wiring than I ever want to do again.
Right.
But no, it was a learning experience for so many people, myself included. Like that car, opened the doors for a lot of things for a lot of other people. Like you know, just I
Right.
don't know. I'm super happy with how it turned out. I mean, it's a fun car. Like, I mean, I will say this, you kind of went and told our age there for a second, but
Right.
in the beginning.
Yeah.
But at almost 40 years old, I will say rolling burnouts at 100 miles an hour that is,
Right.
there are far few things that are a better feeling than wicking that thing at 100 miles an hour and it knocks the tire.
Right. No. I mean, roller coasters exist for the same reason. You know what I mean? It's a
Right.
thrill ride. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I totally understand.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, it's got, like I said, I've been trying to dabble into the tuning aspect of it myself. Like, it's got a Holly on it, Holly EFI HP, and just trying to get more acclimated to the system on it. There's a tuning class that I purchased into Tune the Trilogy by Joe Simpson. Been watching that a lot, trying to get into. I mean, I've got help from people like anybody can help out with this Holly system, but I wanted to be more self-sufficient and less reliant on people, like on
Right.
that aspect of things, because there are going to be times that people can't go into the track, and I mean, heck, I live 20 minutes from Mid-Michigan Motorplex. I mean, I can shoot over there on their test and tune days with the girls and just go make a couple quick passes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been trying to dabble into that a little bit, and there's a lot to it. Like it's a process for sure. But funny story about when I actually first started that car.
Mm-hmm.
Like I went through the Holly Wizard and all this other stuff, and I was sitting out in the garage, and the wife was at work, my daughter was upstairs doing who knows what, and I remember turning the key on to prime it, and dash lit up, and everything else kicked on, fuel pump primed, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna hit this starter, see what happens, and it rolled for like 2 to 3 seconds and started. So here I am, like 2.5 years into this build, and no one there to share my excitement of this freaking thing just fired off on accident. So
I remember getting the video, and you're like kind of shaky holding the phone, and like the car was already running because you didn't expect it to fire up, and like, holy crap, this thing's alive, man. That was a great, yeah.
It was just, yeah, it was pretty, it sucked because I had no one there with me, but
right.
I even called my wife at work, was like, hey, we got to talk for a second. She's like, what happened? She's like, what's that noise? I was like, it's running.
Yeah. Car's running.
No.
Hate to call you during work, but I need to brag.
I got to talk to somebody.
Right.
My daughter came running down, and like that was probably one of the most tear-jerking moments. Like I've had two, and they both are caused by my kid. Both caused by my kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like when she come running downstairs, and I'm sitting here like checking things over, making sure there's no leaks. And here she comes with a big ass hug and like, Dad, you have no idea how proud of you I am. And I was like, okay, oh man, this E85's burning my eyes.
Why'd you bring onions out here?
Yeah. Oh man, but no, I mean, seeing the reaction I get from a lot of people, like thumbs ups with just driving around.
Right.
It's super cool. You know what it's like with your car. You're driving down the road and kids are like pointing at your car and like giving you thumbs up, stuff like that.
Because we were those kids.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know. It's I love it. I love going the drive-in and seeing people like enjoy it as much as I do. You know, had a instance just last couple weeks ago. I went down to the gas station just to drive it in December because I thought that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Don't get to do that often in Michigan, and
right.
But had a couple of guys down at the gas station like just asking about the car, and I mean, shit, I'll tell you all day long about the car. I mean, I'm super proud of it and what we've done to accomplish what it is. And
right, you should be.
So yeah, come on over, dude. Check it out. Pop the hood, dude. And I'll show you whatever you want to see. Yep. But yeah, it's kind of how it all. I did end up getting a license plate for the car that stands for resurrected.
Yeah.
It kind of people think, oh, he's. I think it's some churchly meaning, but unfortunately, it's not. I guess. Yeah. Sorry to bust your bubble. Like, my bad.
Ooh.
But no.
Yeah. Oh man.
No, I'm just super, super thankful for all of you guys for having a hand in this situation, and it's been a journey that will forever be a part of our lives.
Oh yeah.
The experiences we've had, man, it just super thankful for everybody that took time away to help me.
Oh well, I mean, I'm speaking for everybody else, but just you couldn't. We can't repay you for what you've done for everybody else's stuff. So, I called it an obligation, but it's a happy obligation.
Oh yeah.
So, for sure. Well.
Yep. I will say, April, you better have those weekends available. We have some unfinished business.
Yeah. No, for sure.
We gonna see that gray, that purple car? We gonna see that thing out?
Yeah, yeah, and they started a new project at work, and I had to work this weekend, and I told my superiors, like, get this in now, please, because come April, May, June, I'm not gonna have any interest in doing this stuff. So, January, February, March, whatever, like, it is what it is. So, it's just a big without saying too much, right? But it's a big project, and we're trying to train some people to be able to take it over and have it run autonomously.
Right.
Like it's part of the title. But anyway, yeah, for sure. Can't wait for this year coming up and what it has in store for us, and this new project and everything else that comes with it. So I don't know. With that, we're saying right up there on the half-hour timeline. So anything else you want to add for today?
No, I pretty much covered everything, I believe. Enough of my rambling for the day.
Well, yeah, but it's a heck of a story, so we want to get it out there, and it provides context for some things, and they'll make more sense going forward. So
right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess we'll try to end it off there. If you made it this far, thanks for sticking around. I think going forward, we said every 14 days. I'm going to try to do once a week. Because if we can't do it in 2 weeks, then what are we even doing? So with that, thanks for coming, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.